Welcome to Motivemustery, where the wisdom of the ages meets the challenges of today. In today's video, we delve into the life and philosophy of David Hume, one of the most influential figures of the Scottish Enlightenment. Hume, known for his profound skepticism and advocacy for empiricism, has significantly shaped modern philosophy and human understanding. His writings, characterized by clarity, skepticism, and an unwavering commitment to empirical methods, have challenged and enriched philosophical thought. Hume's exploration of the human mind and understanding, especially in his works like A Treatise of Human Nature and Inquiries Concerning Human Understanding, has left a lasting impact on the fields of epistemology, ethics, and religion. He questioned conventional notions of causality, personal identity, and morality, offering a more nuanced view of these complex concepts. As we explore 30 of his most thought-provoking quotes, we will uncover the depths of Hume's philosophy and its relevance today. His insights into human nature, reason, and emotion continue to resonate in our modern world, providing a unique lens through which to view our society and ourselves. Beauty is no quality in things themselves, it exists merely in the mind which contemplates them, and each mind perceives a different beauty. Hailing from the Scottish Enlightenment, David Hume revolutionized the perception of beauty, highlighting its subjective nature rooted in the observer's mind. Hume's quote reveals the ephemeral and personal nature of beauty, emphasizing that it's not an objective property but a reflection of our unique perceptions and emotions. In a world increasingly focused on objective standards of beauty, this quote invites us to embrace the diversity of personal aesthetics and the subjective nature of beauty appreciation. Generally speaking, the errors in religion are dangerous, those in philosophy only ridiculous. Hume's era was marked by a critical examination of religious and philosophical beliefs. He famously differentiated the consequences of errors in these domains. This quote underscores the impact of belief systems on society. While philosophical errors may lead to harmless debates, religious errors can have serious societal consequences. In our era of diverse beliefs and ideologies, this quote reminds us to approach religious beliefs with caution and understanding, acknowledging their profound impact on society and individuals. No man ever threw away life while it was worth keeping. In a time when philosophical debates on human nature were prominent, Hume explored the intrinsic value of life and human decision-making. This quote poignantly reflects on the inherent worth of life and the human tendency to preserve it when it holds meaning and value. In our current society, where mental health and life's purpose are increasingly discussed, this quote urges us to find and cherish the value in our lives, promoting perseverance and hope. Epicurus's old questions are still unanswered. Is he, God, willing to prevent evil, but not able? Then he is impotent. Is he able, but not willing? Then he is malevolent. Is he both able and willing? Then whence evil? Hume, influenced by Epicurean philosophy, grappled with the problem of evil and the nature of a deity, posing timeless questions about divine power and benevolence. This quote challenges the traditional understanding of a deity's omnipotence and benevolence, raising profound questions about the nature of evil and divine responsibility. In a world grappling with moral and ethical dilemmas, this quote stimulates critical thinking about the complexities of faith, the existence of evil, and the role of a higher power in human affairs. In our reasonings concerning matter of fact, there are all imaginable degrees of assurance, from the highest certainty to the lowest species of moral evidence. A wise man, therefore, proportions his belief to the evidence. Hume, a key figure in the Scottish Enlightenment, emphasized the importance of empirical evidence in forming beliefs, challenging the reliance on assumption and superstition. This quote reflects Hume's philosophy that beliefs should be grounded in evidence and rational thought, rather than in unquestioned traditions or emotions. In an age of misinformation and polarized views, this quote underscores the need for critical thinking and evidence-based reasoning to form sound judgments and beliefs. Reason is, and ought only to be, the slave of the passions. In the context of the Enlightenment, Hume presented a counterintuitive notion that reason should be subservient to human passions, challenging the prevailing view of reason's supremacy. This quote suggests that our rationality is often guided by our emotions and desires, proposing that reason is not the master of our actions, but a tool influenced by our passions. In contemporary society, where rationality is often prized above all, this quote encourages a balanced approach, recognizing the importance of emotions in decision-making and life. Reading and sauntering and lounging and dosing, which I call thinking, is my supreme happiness. Hume, a philosopher known for his contemplative nature, found joy in the leisurely pursuits of the mind, valuing the simple pleasures of thought and reflection. This quote conveys the idea that happiness can be found in the quiet moments of reflection and mental engagement, rather than in constant action or material pursuits. In today's fast-paced world, where busyness is often equated with productivity, this quote invites us to value the tranquil moments of introspection and the joy of quiet thought. But the life of a man is of no greater importance to the universe than that of an oyster. In the midst of the Enlightenment, Hume offered a humbling perspective on human existence, challenging the anthropocentric view of the world. This quote suggests a cosmic perspective, emphasizing the relative insignificance of human life in the vast universe, a stark contrast to human self-importance. In a world increasingly focused on individual achievements and human-centric views, this quote reminds us of our humble place in the cosmos, encouraging a broader and more inclusive perspective. Be a philosopher, but amidst all your philosophy, be still a man. As a central figure in the Enlightenment, Hume emphasized the balance between philosophical inquiry and the human experience, advocating for a grounded approach to thinking. This quote embodies the idea that while philosophy enriches our understanding, it should not detach us from our humanity and the practical aspects of life. In today's intellectually complex society, this quote serves as a reminder to maintain our humanity and empathy in the pursuit of knowledge and philosophy. The truth springs from arguments amongst friends. Hume, known for his dialogues and debates, appreciated the value of discourse and discussion among peers as a means to uncover deeper truths. This quote reflects the belief that truth is often revealed through open, honest dialogue and the exchange of ideas, especially among trusted companions. In a modern context, where dialogue is often polarized, this quote reminds us of the importance of constructive discussions with friends and peers to gain a fuller understanding of complex issues. He is happy whose circumstances suit his temper, but he is more excellent who can suit his temper to his circumstance. In the Enlightenment period, Hume explored the dynamics of happiness and adaptability, focusing on the interplay between personal disposition and external circumstances. This quote emphasizes the virtue of adaptability, suggesting that true excellence lies in adjusting one's temper to varying circumstances rather than expecting the world to conform to one's desires. In today's ever-changing world, this quote resonates with the importance of flexibility and emotional intelligence in navigating life's diverse challenges. It is an absurdity to believe that the Deity has human passions, and one of the lowest of human passions, a restless appetite for applause. Hume, challenging the traditional religious beliefs of his time, critiqued the anthropomorphism of the divine, questioning the projection of human emotions onto a deity. This quote criticizes the notion of attributing human-like passions to the divine, pointing out the folly in assuming that a deity would possess such earthly desires. In our current era, where the understanding of spirituality continues to evolve, this quote invites reflection on the nature of the divine and our projections of human traits onto it. When men are most sure and arrogant, they are commonly most mistaken, giving views to passion without that proper deliberation which alone can secure them from the grossest absurdities. In his exploration of human nature, Hume observed the pitfalls of overconfidence and the lack of critical thinking, emphasizing the importance of reasoned deliberation. This quote highlights the dangers of certainty without reflection, warning against the hubris of unexamined beliefs and the impulsiveness of unbridled passion. In a world where opinions are often formed and expressed rapidly, this quote serves as a reminder of the value of thoughtful consideration and humility in our judgments and beliefs. Reason is, and ought only to be, the slave of the passions, and can never pretend to any other office than to serve and obey them. Hume, delving into the relationship between reason and emotion, proposed a radical idea that reason is subservient to human passions. This quote asserts that rational thought is influenced and guided by our emotions, challenging the traditional primacy of logic over emotion. In contemporary society, where rational decision-making is highly valued, this quote prompts a reevaluation of the role of emotions in shaping our thoughts and actions. Does a man of sense run after every silly tale of hobgoblins or fairies, and canvass particularly the evidence? I never knew anyone that examined and deliberated about nonsense who did not believe it before the end of his inquiries. Hume critically examined the human tendency to believe in the absurd, emphasizing the power of suggestion and the ease with which we accept unverified stories. This quote highlights the irony that often, the more we explore absurd ideas, the more susceptible we become to believing them, questioning the nature of belief and evidence. In a world rife with misinformation, this quote serves as a caution against uncritically accepting ideas and highlights the importance of critical thinking and skepticism. It is possible for the same thing both to be and not to be. This quote, though not directly attributed to David Hume, reflects a philosophical concept that can be associated with the discussions around paradoxes and contradictions prevalent in the Enlightenment era. Hume, known for his empirical approach, often explored the complexities and limits of human understanding and perception. The essence of this quote lies in the exploration of paradoxes and the nature of reality versus perception. It challenges the conventional understanding of truth and reality, suggesting that our perception and reasoning might allow for a thing to exist in contradictory states simultaneously, at least in theory or perception. In today's complex world, this quote resonates with the multifaceted nature of truth and reality. It speaks to the modern dilemma of navigating a world filled with conflicting information and perspectives. This idea encourages critical thinking and the acceptance that sometimes, understanding the full scope of a situation may involve embracing paradoxes and contradictions. No testimony is sufficient to establish a miracle, unless the testimony be of such a kind that its falsehood would be more miraculous than the fact which it endeavors to establish. In the Enlightenment context, Hume critically examined the belief in miracles, applying a rigorous standard of evidence and skepticism. This quote emphasizes the need for extraordinary evidence to substantiate extraordinary claims, particularly in the context of miracles. In today's world, where sensational claims often circulate without sufficient evidence, this quote highlights the importance of critical thinking and rigorous skepticism in evaluating such claims. Beauty in things exists in the mind which contemplates them. Hume, with his innovative approach to philosophy, argued that beauty is a subjective experience rather than an objective attribute of things. This quote conveys the idea that beauty is not inherent in objects but is a perception created by the observer's mind. In a world where external beauty is often glorified, this quote invites us to recognize the subjective nature of beauty and the role of individual perception in appreciating it. A wise man apportions his beliefs to the evidence. In his philosophical works, Hume consistently emphasized the importance of basing beliefs on empirical evidence. This quote underlines the principle that beliefs should be proportionate to the evidence supporting them, advocating for a rational and evidence-based approach to belief formation. In an era of widespread misinformation, this quote serves as a timely reminder of the value of evidence-based reasoning and the necessity of aligning beliefs with factual evidence. The sweetest and most inoffensive path of life leads through the avenues of science and learning, and whoever can either remove any obstructions in this way, or open up any new prospect, ought so far to be esteemed a benefactor to mankind. Hume, as a proponent of Enlightenment thinking, valued the pursuit of knowledge and scientific understanding as key to human progress. This quote emphasizes the importance of education and scientific inquiry as pathways to a fulfilling and harmonious life, praising those who contribute to these fields. In a world rapidly advancing in science and technology, this quote inspires us to value and support the continuous exploration and expansion of knowledge for the betterment of humanity. Stercus accidit. This Latin phrase, often attributed to Hume, reflects his realistic approach to life's unexpected and unpleasant events. The essence of this quote lies in the acceptance of life's inevitable mishaps and challenges, advocating a stoic and pragmatic attitude. In today's often idealized and perfection-driven culture, This quote serves as a reminder that setbacks are a natural part of life and can be valuable learning experiences. The identity that we ascribe to things is only a fictitious one, established by the mind, not a peculiar nature belonging to what we're talking about. In his philosophical inquiries, Hume delved into the concept of identity and perception, challenging the notion of inherent properties in objects. This quote suggests that the identities we assign to objects and concepts are constructs of the mind, emphasizing the subjective nature of our perceptions. In a world where labels and categories often shape our understanding, this quote encourages a deeper examination of how our perceptions are formed and the fluid nature of identity. Heaven and hell suppose two distinct species of men, the good and the bad. But the greatest part of mankind float betwixt vice and virtue. This quote reflects David Hume's nuanced understanding of human morality. In an era where religious and moral absolutes were commonly accepted, Hume challenged these notions with his empirical observations. He recognized that human behavior cannot be simply categorized, highlighting the Enlightenment era's shift towards more complex views of human nature. Hume's quote delves into the complexity of human morality, suggesting that most people exist in a moral gray area, rather than fitting into strict categories of good or bad. This perspective emphasizes the fluidity of human morality, acknowledging that people's actions often encompass both virtuous and vice-like qualities. In today's world, this quote is extremely pertinent as it reflects the complexity of modern human experience. It resonates with contemporary views on moral relativism and the rejection of black and white moral judgments. The quote suggests that understanding the broad spectrum of human behavior is crucial for a more empathetic and realistic appraisal of ourselves and others. Any pride or haughtiness is displeasing to us merely because it shocks our own pride and leads us by sympathy into comparison, which causes the disagreeable passion of humility. Hume's insight into human emotions revealed the complex interplay between personal pride and the perception of others' attitudes. This quote explores the idea that our discomfort with others' arrogance often stems from our own sense of pride and the inevitable comparisons it draws. In a society where social comparisons are prevalent, this quote reflects on the subtle dynamics of ego and humility, and the impact they have on interpersonal relationships. Indulge your passion for science, but let your science be human, and such as may have a direct reference to action and society. Be a philosopher, but amidst all your philosophy, be still a man. David Hume, a central figure in the Scottish Enlightenment, passionately pursued knowledge while advocating for a balance between science and humanism. Hume's philosophy urges a blend of scientific rigor and human compassion, emphasizing that the pursuit of knowledge should be intertwined with ethical considerations and societal well-being. In our era of rapid scientific and technological advancements, Hume's words remind us to stay grounded in our humanity, ensuring our progress benefits society as a whole. We make allowance for a certain degree of selfishness in men, because we know it to be inseparable from human nature and inherent in our frame and constitution. By this reflection, we correct those sentiments of blame, which so naturally arise upon any opposition. Hume recognized the inherent selfishness in human nature, understanding it as an unchangeable aspect of our being. This quote reflects on the acceptance of human flaws, suggesting that understanding and acknowledging our inherent nature allows for more compassionate and realistic social interactions. In today's society, recognizing and accepting our imperfections can lead to more honest and empathetic connections, reducing unnecessary judgment and conflict. To philosopher and historian, the madness and imbecile wickedness of mankind ought to appear ordinary events. Hume's perspective was that of a realist, seeing the folly and vices of mankind as inevitable and commonplace. This quote encourages a pragmatic approach to human behavior, understanding that irrationality and immorality are part of the human experience. Recognizing these aspects of humanity allows us to approach historical and contemporary events with a more nuanced and forgiving perspective, rather than shock or dismay. To be a philosophical skeptic is the first and most essential step towards being a sound, believing Christian. Hume, often challenging established beliefs, saw skepticism as a vital step in questioning and ultimately reinforcing one's faith. This quote highlights the value of critical thinking and questioning and solidifying one's beliefs, rather than blindly accepting them. In our current context, this approach encourages an open-minded exploration of beliefs, leading to a more profound and personal understanding of one's faith and values. Reason is, and ought only to be the slave of the passions, and can never pretend to any other office than to serve and obey them. Hume viewed reason as a tool guided by our passions, suggesting that our emotional responses drive our rational thinking. This quote illuminates the idea that our logic and reasoning are ultimately influenced by our deeper desires and emotions, not detached from them. In today's emotionally charged world, this perspective highlights the importance of acknowledging and understanding our emotions as key drivers of our decisions and actions. The feelings of our heart, the agitation of our passions, the vehemence of our affections, dissipate all its conclusions, and reduce the profound philosopher to a mere plebeian. Hume acknowledged the overpowering influence of emotions, even on the most rational minds, suggesting that our feelings can overshadow our intellectual capacities. This quote reflects on the humbling effect of emotions, demonstrating how they can level the intellectual field, bridging the gap between philosophers and laymen. In our complex world, it serves as a reminder that no matter our level of intellect, we are all subject to the profound impact of our emotions. Appreciation for joining our journey.